Ruth Martin. She was sort of like a mentor to me. She helped me clarify some of my misjudgments and helped me with my temper. I had sort of a vicious temper, or not a good kind temper. I'll put it that way. Another one, I've had a lot of parents of students that helped me. They didn't mentor me, as far as daily, but it was their actions and their maybe something they said or did. I don't really know of any one person. There are many, but not just direct. When you speak of mentors, you're speaking in terms of somebody that mentoring you along the way. I would have to say a lot of the students were my mentors. If you want the truth, if that's possible, it is possible with me, but maybe with other people. Because as I told you a while ago, they taught me a whole lot more than I taught them. Understanding, patient, forgetting. You were talking about our dogs. Students, children are they'll love you this moment. They may disobey you, but they'll still love you. Then the other thing, if you say something to them not quite kind or the way it should be, they don't hold it against you. Adults will hold it against you the rest of their life, but not children. They love you regardless. They don't see. They see what they see. They see you. They don't see all these things in people that that we as adults see. They don't see prejudices. So I'd have to say if I've had any mentors at all, it was children. That may not sound like right judgment, but that's the way I feel.
How, what type, what of your, what in your life do you consider traditions that came from your American Indian heritage?
Um, Pride. My pride, and living. The old saying is living close to the land. I just I love flowers and plants and just nature. Now I am a nature person. I just love. Then I look at the God's creation and know that the Native Americans, they saw what was real, or they see what was real. Well, they would say that if you work with nature, nature will work with you. And we also see how that some things, for instance, like this spring, have you noticed the trees, how full they are? And now last year they weren't that way. So there's a reason and a purpose, and I'd be willing to bet you that some of our older natives that practices um, nature, I bet they could tell you the reason. I'd sure love to talk to some of them. I went out to your dad's home environment. We went there. We stayed out there for, I believe, about 3 weeks. I got mad and glad, but I learned a lot while I was out there about, you know, nature, just the grounds. So I think those are the things that I have learned or that I really cherish. I I'm not a what do you want to say? I'm not a practicing native Indian. I guess I've been washed and scrubbed and whatever else that you can think of, and I've had different you know, people in my life from different walks of life and cultures, but the Native American has had more influence on my inner being than anybody else. And I think we needed to be able to do that. I think you need to be able to get something from white people or from black people. And I'm just now getting to the point where that I am learning more and more and more about black people because we were never we were I don't know what the word I want. Maybe I don't want to say it, but anyhow, we've got several in our church that I have. They've befriended me, and I've befriended them, and I'm learning more and more and more that we have a lot in common. We may have things that's opposite, but if we could get to know people and know them better, we would find that we have more alike about us than we have different. So that's why I'm proud to be an Indian, and I'm proud to. I get disappointed lots of times, and I get disgusted too with some of the things that go on against natives, and especially our Robertsonians. But still, I think we have a lot to offer.
So tell me about the Lumbee tribal culture. What do you know about our Lumbee tribal culture?
The travel culture.
The tribal.
Oh, the Lumbee tribal, yes.
What makes us unique? What makes us different? Um, why are who we are?
Um, well, that sort of goes right back to what I was saying. I think that we knew how to struggle and still bubble on up to the top. We've tried for a long, long time. We've been tried to be defeated, but you have not seen people defeated yet. The other thing, and I'll have to say this, and I knew that some people disagree and some people get their feathers up. I believe with all my heart that the Lumbee people are the smartest people on this earth. And I tell you the reason why. I taught students from just about every state in this United States, two countries, and those two of the children, I mean, some of the children that I taught from the two countries, they couldn't even speak English. They didn't know English. However, I've taught a lot of Lumbee children and Lumbee associated, and I'm here to tell you, they're the smartest children I've ever taught. They retain more than any that I've ever taught. They can take whatever you give them and put something else with it. You know what I'm saying? And I tell you why I'm saying that, and I've had a lot of it. But this little boy that I had in the classroom, he was, I was sweeping. I'd sweep every afternoon when the children would leave, or I'd clean up, which didn't know until the end of my years of teaching. I weren't supposed to do that. It was illegal, but I didn't know it. However, he was a brave boy. I can't remember his name to save my life, but I knew he was a brave boy. And I was sweeping, and I couldn't find the dustpan. I said, "Where in the world is the dustpan?" And he said, "You don't have to have a dustpan." I said, "Well, how can you think I can get this dirt up?" It was more or less sand. He said, "Just a minute." He went to the spigot. He got two paper towels. He dampened it just a little bit, and he came and he placed it down on that sand or dirt. And then he took his hands and he brought it up. There was not a thing hardly left on that floor. Now you think that didn't impress me? That taught me a lot. Here, this little, he was a first grader. And I said, I would have never thought about that in 100 years. I had never thought of it. It never dawned on me But that's what I'm talking about. And they could come up, those children, you needed something or somehow to figure out something, and you could figure it out. Just like you remember, you all made the skeleton with the, what was it, the straws or something in the third grade. I mean, that was the smartest group of children I've ever taught. But every one of you were handpicked. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you were. And I tell you the reason why. Who was in there that was important to the office? Brenda. Mr. Dow was never going to let any mediocrity in around Brenda. And he handpicked every one of those children. The Lowry boy that got killed the other week, over there on 710, his brother Steve. Steve was as smart his sister was as smart a child as I've ever worked with. Do you think Mr. Dow would let her in there that year? No way. He picked every child that went in that third grade with you. He sure did. So you had to be pretty smart to be in that class. And I know I'm not supposed to tell that, but he's gone, and I don't care who else hears it. Well, I told him, I didn't push back. I said, Mr. Dial, I know these children were handpicked. So, but anyway, um, that's the kind of students we have. Those are the kind of people we have. We just have people that keeps moving, keep that they're not, they may get defeated, they may get knocked down, but they'll surely rise. They'll get up and they'll go again. They're not disheartened easily either, the Lumbees. Um, we're clammish. When I say clammish, we don't want somebody over there outside knocking us, even though you know that person may be right, but you don't want it to happen. You have some sort of feeling, and I don't know, can't tell you what kind of feeling, but you have it. So,
So you mentioned earlier that your your sister would made it, or your mom made a lot of clothes for your sisters, but you got a lot of your clothes from the owner of the land.
yes,
Has that played an impact on your style today?
yes, yes, greatly. And I can't help it. It's not a matter, my, it's just not a matter of that I think I'm better than anybody else, but I want to feel good about myself. And I think somehow I just think that clothing can play a big part. And I watch. When the minute you walked in here, that's the first thing I saw was how nice you look. I think clothes can. I hate to say this, they can't make you. But they can definitely break you. They can break you if you pay big prices. But they can impress. Clothing can impress people because you see somebody. Okay, I'm judgmental. Yesterday at church, the Miss Lumbee, little Miss, no, she must be the junior Miss Lumbee, Aaron Thomas's daughter. Well, she sang yesterday at church. Did a beautiful job. She didn't have music, but she just sang. I guess she does that at the meetings. And and then when she finished, I didn't see where she went in the church. But after a while, I looked over to my left, and I saw this young man, and I thought, how he was well dressed. And he was just so neat. You just had to pay attention, and and then I noticed that she came around and she went and sat down with him. So at the church, I saw Aaron and his wife, and I said, Aaron, who was that girl? I said, was that your daughter's? Then the mama said, yeah, that was her boyfriend. And I thought, now I took more notice at him because he had on a dark suit, and he was just absolutely well groomed. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not prejudice, though. I'm not prejudiced. I don't think I am. I just think that clothing helps. You see a person out there, they're not shaven or straggly hair, women with straggly hair, and they're got on dirty clothes or raggedy clothes, and then you see somebody well dressed, or I mean, not well dressed, but just dressed neatly and clean shaven, hair fixed. Which one do you, I mean, you don't have to answer that. I'm just telling you, how do I believe clothing can play a part?
So, just a few more questions here. Um, what do you think is the most pressing need for the Indian community in general?
The most pressing need. I My number one. I hope it'll happen. It might not happen in my lifetime. Recognition. And I don't mean recognition to get a thing. I'm not talking about hospital bills or education, because we're doing pretty good. I just think that pride, that feeling independent, feeling that we're somebody in the eyes of our country. I, that may not be what anybody else would think, but that's how I feel. And I can't for the life of me. As I said, when we went to Arizona, we went to, where was it that Goldwater was governor?
Arizona.
Well, that's where we went. I got so mad when I got back home. I wrote letters to him. The things I saw there, just riding around and stopping in the restaurant and places, the things I saw there made me so angry. I'm not. I don't think that we as Indians ought to have anything special, but I think we ought to have equality. And when I say equality, if those Indians up there in Cherokee can have recognition, which 99% of them are not all white, I mean Indian, the same with us around here and the other Indians, why can't we? I was told, I don't know whether because Jerry Sider, do you know him? Well, he's been a advocate for the Lumbees for years. He's a, oh, what is his? He's an anthropologist, and he works in New York. But anyway, he was the one who started LRDA. He was one of the main people to get it started. And he told, and we are real good close friends with him. And he told us that that the Cherokees were one of the tribes that was keeping the Lumbees from getting recognition because they're jealous. They knew that there's a lot of them, and they would said it would take something away from them. Well, I don't know how they can consider that it would take anything away from them. But he was saying that you know that there were more Lumbees registered than any other tribe. But that ought not have anything to do with it. Hey, if they don't want to give you hospitalization, fine. If they don't want to give you whatever it is they give, I don't know what they give, but whatever it is, if they don't want to give it, keep it. Just give the people recognition. That's all. We recognize them as a tribe. So that would be my number one. I think that would help a lot of people's ego. Um, I don't know. Maybe, maybe it would help in other ways too. But what was the rest of the question?
That pretty much answered that question. Now, what are you most proud of? What's your biggest achievement?
Uh, well, let's see. I have so many different things that I'm very proud of. I guess I really have to say um, my children and their families, and then my school families, my school children. And then some of the things that I did, like when I was in, I must have been in about, well, I knew I went to church at Mount Moriah, and I had to be in probably the ninth or 10th grade. I played the piano for a singing group, and some of those groups have grown to become pretty good groups, singing groups, and I'd play for them at Laurinburg. Um, I played the piano for them, and they sang, which that was terrible, terrible singing to my notion when I compare it then now to then. But they must have they would traveled around. They traveled all over the county. So I'm really really proud of my family. Um, their accomplishments. They've had a lot of downfalls too, but mostly their accomplishments. And my grandchildren and great grandchildren. I even great. I got three great grand, 11, 10 grands, and all of them seemingly are doing pretty well. And so I just want them to be independent. When I say independent, I want them to be where they can support themselves and be kind and nice to people and love people. Not only love them because they're human beings, but not to see them through rose-colored glasses. I'd like people to be just, you know, I shouldn't have to expect certain. You shouldn't have to act in a certain way for me to like you. I need to respect you because you're a human being, and until you do something to make me see differently, that's the way it ought to be. So that's what I pretty much believe now. Some of them have gone a little bit beyond where I wanted them to go. Oh, but how I can't control that. I have to let them live the life they want to live. And then some of them have associated, or they are associating with people was that I wouldn't want them to, but I can't do anything about that. So as long as they don't harm or be harmed, it's okay with me.
This is kind of a little off track, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You have lived a nice long life, and you've seen a lot of changes during your
Oh
life.
yes, yes.
Um, and there are things that have happened um, during your life. Notable events like the assassination of JFK, Martin Luther King, Watergate, Vietnam. Um, do any of those things stick out to you for any particular reason other than knowing they're historic events that happened?
Um, well, the two things more than the other one would be Kennedy. I was teaching. That was my second year, I believe, my second year of teaching. That was such a tragedy. And we, Miss Shirley Locklear, you may never, well, she did teach at Pembroke Elementary. Well, Miss Shirley was along with me. And when that happened with John F. K., um, we were studying his life, and the class was. And the whole class just went to pieces, and I did too. I mean, it was just so hurtful. Miss Shirley gave me some kind of pill. I'll never forget this, but it was something that it would supposed to calm your nerves. I had to stay in the bed 4 days. I don't know what, but Miss Shirley had pain, something wrong with her back. And I don't know if it was a pain pill. I don't know what it was, but she said it would calm my nerves. Well, it calmed them all right. I mean, it calmed them way down. But that And then with Martin Luther King, I can't express it. It won't sound good, but I think he did a whole lot good for the people, for the blacks. But I think to a certain degree, he sort of went over and beyond. Maybe he didn't, but in my estimation, he did. Um, but and the Vietnam War, I just, Lord of mercy, I saw a movie Saturday night about that, and that was so sad. There have been a lot of things happen in this country and against other countries, or other countries against us, but I don't think there have been anything, including John F. K., JFK, Martin Luther, none of it. The tragedy that the American Indians have had to struggle with. No, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I get so angry when I hear them talking about the blacks getting restoration. The blacks, you lose the uh, they said, Trump, you lose if you don't have the blacks. You do this, you do that, you do that. And it burns the grease out of me when I think about him taking the lands. When I've been out west and saw how that this country has devastated the American Indians, and have taken from them, have oh, I don't even want to talk about it if you want the truth, but that to me is the worst thing that this country has ever done. Have never acknowledged it. If they have, I don't know it. And I don't I don't care who hears it. And I don't even care and I taught my, I know that sounds bad, but I tried my best to instill that in every student I taught. Yes, I did. And I have instilled it into my children, but some of them hadn't received it. But it, I know that you may not like what I'm saying, and somebody may not like what I'm saying 100 years from now. But I don't care. I don't care. They took the Indians' land. They drove them to the mountainous areas where they couldn't get food. They couldn't grow food. They were nature people. They took that away from them. The buffaloes. They killed the buffaloes. Everything. This country has tried in every way that they could to, if they couldn't stop them, if they couldn't kill them, they couldn't outright kill them, and they couldn't stop them, they couldn't demean them, they couldn't take their pride away, and so took their land, they took their money, they took everything, but they hadn't stopped them. They'll never stop them, and so that's how I feel about that.
So,
I didn't
so,
mean to preach.
so is there anything else you would like us to know about Miss Geraldine Jacobs Clark?
Well, I guess my Sunday nights we used to cook on Monday nights when Berto was living before he got sick. We would cook every Monday night, and all the children, the grandchildren, the great grands, their friends, their neighbors, everybody, they'd bring a bunch of people. They'd come. But after he got sick, and he got where he couldn't work and help me, and I was working. I mean, we just stopped. So we started doing it on Sunday nights. They all come in, everybody, the children and their families. Well, they'd say, "What you got to eat?" I'd say, "Well, nothing. I didn't fix anything." So now what I do, I fix whatever the fruit of the week or month or whatever, like watermelon and blueberries. Blueberries. Do you like blueberries? Well, I've got a pint there I'll give you before you leave. Um, I've got 3 or 4 pints. Casey's supposed to come get some. But anyway, Now I try to fix like a banana pudding or a fruit salad or something on Sunday, just apples and tangerines or banana, stuff like that. And they come on Sunday night. Well, they exchange, ideals, or not really ideals. They just get to talking, and I mostly stay mum. I don't listen. I listen, but I don't say a whole lot unless it's controversy. Um, and the little tiny children, they're noisy, as I told you a few minutes ago. But it's so enjoyable. And then we all talk, and if it's a birthday, we sing happy birthday. If it's not, just talk with things in general. We sing happy birthday to anybody that's having a birthday. Christmas, we all get together. Thanksgiving, and all I have to fix is the corn, and but they bring everything else. So that's sort of like the highlights. And they invite some of their friends to come with them, and sometimes some of the church people. We don't invite too many church people because they might not understand some of the. Well, we don't invite that many. Um, but that's sort of the highlights of my life right now, and getting to see you and I see several of my students that I had that were really, really good students. And you remember Brooke? You know, she was a judge. Well, I saw her last Sunday. She seems to be doing well. I told her, and I have a car in there that she had given me when she was in the second grade. I was got it out to take to her parents, but it's just things like that. And I see different ones in town or at the restaurant. I go to Golden Corral. Do you ever go there? I enjoy Golden Corral because I can get what I want, and I normally get a salad and fish. But that's, I guess that's the highlight of my life. And it's everybody except I got one granddaughter that has two children, and she lives in Virginia. And then Cal's daughter and son one lives in Apex, and the other one lives, never think of the name of where he lives. So they're not here every Sunday night, but most of them are here. Hal Jr., he's a PA for the veterans, so he sometimes don't get to come. But other than that, they all end up swaggling. Some of them, they used to come at 6 o'clock, and now they come at 8 o'clock, and I'm gonna have to get them started coming earlier, because that don't leave me much time before I have to go to bed. So if you're ever down here on Sunday night, just drop by. They'll be here.
We'll do that for sure.
Be happy to have you.
Well, thank you for your time, Miss Geraldine. We do appreciate it, and we wish you continued good health and
Thank you.
good family times.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I just hope I didn't embarrass you, or hope I didn't. I mean, hey, I don't know that. I hope if anybody that gets to see it, they won't laugh themselves to death.